My name is Doris R. Boykins. I was 31 years old when the man I loved turned our relationship into a bidding war and expected me to be grateful for the chance to compete. The garlic was sizzling in the pan when Adrian came home that Tuesday evening. I was preparing his favorite chicken piccata with extra capers. A bottle of Pinot Grigio sat open on the counter, and my phone had just reminded me to book a surprise weekend at a cabin in the Blue Ridge Mountains. It was not meant to be a proposal. It was meant to be ordinary love. 3 quiet days without work emails, social obligations, or phones vibrating between us. I had been saving for months because Adrian often complained that our lives had become predictable. When his key turned in the lock, I smiled. "Something smells incredible," he called. Then he entered the living room and dropped his leather bag onto the sofa with enough force to make me turn around. He did not kiss me. He stood in the center of the room wearing his work shirt and a cold, formal expression. "We need to talk." I lowered the kitchen towel. "Is everything okay?" "Marissa is back in the city." The name landed before I could prepare for it. Marissa was Adrian's ex-girlfriend, the almost fiancée from before me. A corporate attorney from a wealthy family whose photographs still survived deep inside his social media history. "Okay," I said carefully. "She wants me back." The pan continued sizzling behind me. Adrian watched my face as if measuring my reaction. She admitted she made a mistake. She says she's ready to commit completely. What does that mean? She offered marriage. For several seconds, I waited for him to laugh. He did not. Instead, he walked toward the dining table and rested one hand on the chair. "I love you, Doris, but I need certainty. I need a defined future. We've been together 3 years, and I'm tired of waiting for you to decide whether I'm worth marrying." I looked around the apartment. The walls I had painted, the furniture I had helped pay for, the life we had assembled one ordinary day at a time. Adrian gestured toward it dismissively. "This limbo isn't enough anymore." Then he delivered the terms. "If you don't propose by Friday, I'm accepting Marissa's offer." The sentence was almost impressive in its precision. 4 days, a ring, or another woman. "You're giving me a deadline?" I asked. "Don't make it sound ugly." "How should I make it sound?" "Honest." His voice sharpened. "She is offering commitment, security, a future. Why haven't you?" There it was. His private conversations with an ex-girlfriend had somehow become evidence of my failure. The cabin money, the years of supporting his career, the evenings spent reassuring him through layoffs and uncertainty. None of it counted because it had not arrived inside a velvet box. "Are you unsure about me?" he asked. "Is that what this has always been?" I looked at him carefully. There was no fear in his face. No grief at the possibility of losing me. Only confidence. He believed he held the stronger offer. He expected panic to push me onto one knee. Instead, something inside me became completely still. "Let me buy the ring first," I said. His shoulders relaxed. He smiled as though the negotiation had succeeded. "That's all I wanted. Proof that you're serious." "When are you seeing Marissa?" "Thursday night. Drinks." "To accept her proposal?" "To turn her down," he said. "Assuming you make the right decision." He crossed the room and kissed my cheek. The gesture felt administrative. "I really hope I'm rejecting her, Doris." Then he walked toward the bedroom, leaving me beside the stove as the garlic began to burn. I turned off the flame. Dinner remained untouched. That night, Adrian slept peacefully beside me while I stared at the ceiling. By 4 in the morning, I had stopped thinking about rings. I was thinking about locksmiths, boxes, passwords, shared accounts. He believed the countdown ended Friday. He was wrong. For him, it would end Thursday night. Adrian left for work the next morning with more energy than I had seen in months. He kissed my cheek near the front door and smiled as though we shared a secret. "Think about what I said." "I am." He did not hear the difference in my voice. The moment the door closed, the apartment stopped feeling shared. It became a list: locks, boxes, accounts, keys. I called a locksmith first. A man named David arrived before 10 carrying a metal toolbox and wearing the patient expression of someone who had seen every kind of breakup. You need the locks changed today? Yes. Both doors? Both. He glanced toward the framed photographs in the hallway but asked no questions. When the new deadbolt slid into place, the sound echoed through the apartment. Solid. Final. I handed David Adrian's old keys. You don't want to keep these? No. After he left, I carried flattened cardboard boxes up from the storage room. I started with the bedroom closet. Adrian's tailored shirts, his expensive jackets, the shoes he wore to agency dinners and described as investments. I folded everything carefully. No ripped fabric. No broken bottles. No photographs torn in half. Anger would have made the work messy. I wanted precision. The bathroom came next. His shaving kit, cologne, skincare products arranged by size, the dark blue robe I bought him for our second Christmas. Then the books he had never finished, the decorative objects he insisted made the apartment feel mature, and the framed photograph of him standing beside Marissa at a charity gala years before we met. I had asked about that photograph once. He told me it meant nothing. I wrapped it in newspaper and placed it on top of the box. By 3 in the afternoon, Adrian's entire presence had been reduced to 12 cardboard containers stacked neatly beside the front door. The apartment looked larger. The empty spaces did not feel damaged. They felt honest. I sat at the kitchen table with a single sheet of stationery. The note required one sentence. Seems there are no offers anymore. I placed it on top of the first box. Then I opened every shared account. The streaming subscriptions were transferred to my private email. His access to the grocery delivery account was removed. I changed the Wi-Fi password. I separated the joint phone plan and requested a new number for myself. His automatic access to the building's digital entry system disappeared with one click. No dramatic announcements, only administration. Thursday evening arrived quietly. At 7, Adrian texted from his office. Meeting Marissa soon. I hope I'm telling her no. I stared at the message. He expected reassurance. Instead, I wrote, "Drive safely." 3 dots appeared, then vanished. He did not respond. Across the city, he was probably rehearsing the conversation, telling Marissa that Doris had finally understood, that I had accepted the deadline, that he had successfully forced certainty from 2 women at once. I turned off the living room lights and went to bed early. At 8:17 p.m., my old email account received a message. My key doesn't work. Then, where are my things? Then, Doris, this is not funny. I deleted them without opening the full thread. At 8:43, the first voicemail arrived. Adrian's voice was sharp. Pick up. Did you change the locks? My boxes are in the hallway. Fix this now. A pause. And what is that note supposed to mean? I saved the voicemail and placed the phone face down. At 11, another message arrived. This one sounded different. The anger had cracked. Okay, I'm at my sister's place. I don't understand what you did. He inhaled shakily. Marissa lied. I listened without moving. She said there was no proposal. She only wanted to know whether I would leave you if she asked. His voice became smaller. She made a bet with her friends. She wanted to prove she still had control over me. There was a long silence. Then, she laughed when I told her you were buying a ring. I closed my eyes. Both offers had vanished in one evening. At 7:15 Friday morning, the deadline he had chosen, Adrian left another voicemail. He was crying now. Doris, I made a terrible mistake. Marissa manipulated me. I panicked because I thought we were standing still. He swallowed audibly. You're the person I love. The last 3 years were real. Please let me come home. Home. The apartment had become home again only after he left it. Around noon, an unknown number texted me. You set me up. Then, you lied about buying a ring. I finally answered. You lied about turning her down. The reply came immediately. That's different. I almost laughed. Adrian called 14 times over the next hour. I ignored everyone. Then his sister Melanie reached me from another number. Doris, whatever happened, you need to stop punishing him. I'm not punishing him. You changed the locks and threw him out. He gave me 4 days to compete with another woman. He was scared. He was negotiating. Melanie's voice sharpened. He made one mistake. No, he made an offer. What does that even mean? I considered the terms and declined. Silence. Then she said, he loves you. He loved having 2 choices. I ended the call. At 11:59 Friday night, Adrian left one final voicemail. The tears were gone. Only rage remained. You think you won? You're boring, Doris. Predictable. Marissa was right about you. His voice rose. I was settling. I gave you a chance to become someone worth choosing, and you failed. Something crashed in the background. You'll die alone in that apartment. The call ended with a broken shout. I saved the recording, not because it hurt, because it was the first completely honest thing he had given me. The deadline passed. The ring never existed. Neither did the relationship he thought he could auction. The silence after Adrian's last voicemail lasted almost 3 months. It wasn't empty. It was productive. I threw myself into work. The promotion I had once turned down was available again, and this time I accepted it without hesitation. The raise came with more responsibility, but for the first time in years, every decision I made belonged only to me. I started going to the gym before work. I learned how to cook meals that weren't built around someone else's favorite recipes. I reconnected with friends I'd quietly drifted away from while trying to keep Adrian happy. Little by little, the apartment stopped looking like the place where our relationship ended. It became my home. Then I met Marcus. Not through dating apps. Not because I was looking. He joined one of our partner companies on a cybersecurity project. Quiet. Thoughtful. The kind of man who listened before speaking and never mistook confidence for volume. Our first coffee lasted 2 hours. Our second turned into dinner. Weeks later, we were spending Saturdays exploring bookstores and farmers markets instead of loud bars and networking events. Marcus never asked me to compete for his attention. He never made me prove my value. One afternoon, he asked about Adrian. I told him the truth. The relationship ended the night he gave me a deadline. Marcus nodded once. Then it ended before you changed the locks. Exactly. By the time our mutual friend Nathan's wedding arrived, Marcus and I had been seeing each other for almost 3 months. The ceremony took place in a botanical garden just outside the city. White roses, string lights, soft piano music drifting across the lawn. Peaceful. Until I saw Adrian. He stood alone near the bar. He looked thinner than I remembered. His expensive suits were gone, replaced by something that looked rented. Dark circles sat beneath his eyes, and every few minutes he checked his phone as if waiting for a message that never came. Then he noticed Marcus holding my hand. His entire expression changed. Not anger. Panic. During the reception, he walked straight toward our table. Doris. Marcus looked at me. I remained seated. Can we talk? Just 5 minutes. No. It's important. There isn't anything left to discuss. Several nearby conversations quieted. People were watching. Adrian lowered his voice. Marissa ruined everything. No. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. He took another step closer. She admitted it was all a test. I know. My career's falling apart. I lost the promotion. Half my team won't even speak to me. I watched him carefully. Everything he listed had one thing in common. None of it mentioned me. None of it acknowledged what he'd done. It only described what he'd lost. You've always been the one who believed in me, he whispered. No. His forehead creased. You believed in what I could do for you. He looked genuinely confused. I came here to apologize. You came here because the other option disappeared. He glanced toward Marcus. So this is him? Marcus stayed silent. I answered. This is someone who never asked me to compete. Adrian laughed bitterly. So, that's it? 3 years just disappear? They disappeared the moment you put an expiration date on them. His shoulders dropped. I've changed. I almost smiled. You said that after Marissa rejected you. I mean it now. So did I. He stared. When? When I walked out of that party. For several long seconds, neither of us spoke. Then his phone rang. He ignored it. It rang again. Then a third time. Finally, he answered. What? His face lost all color. No, I told you I'd explain. Another pause. I wasn't threatening her. He slowly lowered the phone. Marcus quietly asked, Everything okay? Adrian didn't answer him. He looked only at me. My lawyer needs me. I raised an eyebrow. Lawyer? He swallowed. Marissa filed for a restraining order. The reception suddenly felt very quiet. Someone behind us whispered. Another guest looked toward Adrian. His phone buzzed again. Then another notification. Then another. He opened one message. His face completely drained. A former coworker had publicly posted screenshots of messages Adrian had sent while trying to convince her to give him another chance. The comments were multiplying by the second. More names were appearing. More women. More stories. The groom's brother looked down at his own phone. So that's what everyone's talking about. Adrian looked around the reception. People weren't avoiding eye contact anymore. They were staring directly at him. He took one slow step backward, then another, turned around, and walked out through the garden gate alone. Marcus looked at me. You okay? I watched the gate close behind Adrian. Then I picked up my glass. I am now. The story spread before Adrian reached the parking lot. By midnight, screenshots from 3 former coworkers were circulating through our mutual circle. One woman described late-night messages he sent after she turned him down. Another posted a voice note where he called her ungrateful for refusing dinner. A third said he had threatened to damage her career if she told anyone. The agency reopened its internal investigation the following Monday. Adrian was suspended before lunch. By Friday, he was fired. The official statement used careful language: professional misconduct, policy violations, inappropriate communication. But everyone understood what it meant. His reputation had not collapsed because of one angry scene at a wedding. The wedding had simply made people stop protecting him. Adrian's sister called me that night. She did not bother pretending to be polite. You destroyed his life. I didn't send those messages. You humiliated him in front of everyone. He approached my table. You could have talked to him privately. He had 3 months to speak honestly. Her voice cracked. He's sleeping on my couch. Marissa filed that restraining order. He has no job. That isn't my responsibility. You were together for 3 years. Yes. How can that mean nothing? It means I ignored too much for too long. She began crying. I ended the call. Marcus never asked whether I felt satisfied. He understood that relief was not celebration. We continued carefully. No dramatic declarations. No promises made under pressure. Just ordinary things. Dinner after work. Sunday walks. Quiet evenings where nobody used affection as leverage. Adrian found new ways to reach me. A fresh email address. A handwritten letter delivered to my office. Messages passed through mutual friends. Each one followed the same pattern. First regret. Then explanation. Then blame. One letter began, I understand now. By the 3rd paragraph, he was accusing me of abandoning him during a mental health crisis. At the bottom, he wrote, You were the only person who ever made me feel safe. I stared at that sentence for a long time. He had said something similar when we first met. Back then, I thought it meant he loved me. Now I understood. I made consequences softer. I paid more than my share. I rearranged plans. I absorbed uncertainty. I made chaos comfortable. That was the safety he missed. I asked building security not to accept anything else from him. Then I contacted an attorney. The cease and desist letter was short. No direct contact. No third-party communication. No false statements about me. The letter reached Adrian on a Friday. That evening, he posted a video online. He sat in a dark room, speaking directly into the camera. He said the agency had conspired against him. Marissa had lied. His coworkers wanted revenge. I was manipulative. Marcus had stolen me when I was vulnerable. The video stayed online for 17 minutes, long enough for people to record it, long enough for him to mention confidential client details from his former job, long enough for the agency's legal department to send another notice. Then the video disappeared. So did his accounts. For almost 4 months, I heard nothing. My promotion became permanent. Marcus and I grew closer without rushing. He met my friends. I met his family. Nobody asked when we were getting married. Nobody presented deadlines. One Saturday, we went to the farmer's market near my apartment. The morning smelled like coffee, peaches, and fresh bread. Marcus stepped away to buy flowers while I waited beside a stall selling handmade candles. That was when I felt someone watching me. I turned. Adrian stood 10 yards away. He looked like a photograph left in the rain. His hair was uncombed. His clothes hung loosely. His face had lost the polished confidence I remembered. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then he walked toward me. "Doris." I nodded. "Adrian. Can we talk?" "No. 5 minutes. There's nothing left." He looked toward Marcus, who was still speaking with the flower vendor. "So that's serious now?" "Yes." His mouth tightened. "I've been through hell." I waited. Marissa destroyed me. The agency overreacted. Everyone believed the worst version of me. "You gave them evidence." His eyes flashed. I was angry. "You were honest." He stepped closer. "I loved you. You loved being chosen. That isn't fair. You gave me 4 days to compete with another woman." I was scared. "You were certain." His voice softened. "I see what I lost. That's not the same as seeing what you did." Marcus began walking back toward us. Adrian noticed and reached for my wrist. I stepped away before he touched me. Marcus stopped beside me. Adrian looked between us. Then his face hardened. "You think this makes you better than me?" "No," I said. "It makes me finished with you." The flower vendor had gone quiet. 2 nearby shoppers were watching. Adrian realized it. His jaw tightened. He backed away slowly, eyes fixed on me. Then his phone rang. He looked at the screen. His expression changed. The agency's legal department had filed suit over the confidential information in his deleted video, and the process server was waiting outside his sister's apartment. The lawsuit did not make Adrian disappear immediately. It made him quieter. For several weeks, he stopped contacting me directly. No emails, no handwritten letters, no messages through friends. The silence felt deliberate, like he had finally understood that every new attempt created another record. The agency's legal team pursued damages over the confidential information he disclosed in the deleted video. Marissa extended her restraining order after he appeared outside her office twice. His sister stopped answering calls from mutual friends because every conversation eventually became another request for money, housing, or an explanation. Adrian had spent years surrounding himself with people who softened consequences. One by one, they stepped away. Marcus and I continued walking through the farmer's market after Adrian left. He did not ask whether I wanted to discuss the confrontation. He simply handed me the small bundle of flowers he had purchased. "For the kitchen," he said. "No performance, no hidden question, just flowers." That evening, I placed them in a glass jar beside the window. The apartment smelled faintly of basil and fresh bread from the market. Marcus helped me prepare dinner, and when the garlic began to brown, he lowered the heat without being asked. For 1 second, I remembered the night Adrian issued his ultimatum while chicken piccata burned behind me. Then the memory passed. Months earlier, I believed ordinary life needed to be defended from boredom. Now, I understood how rare peace actually was. The final message from Adrian arrived through my attorney. It was not an apology. It was a settlement request. His lawyer wanted the agency to reduce its claim. In exchange, Adrian would agree to stop mentioning me publicly and withdraw several accusations he had circulated among mutual friends. My attorney read the proposal aloud. I almost laughed. Even after everything, Adrian still spoke in offers, terms, leverage, negotiation. "What do you want to do?" my attorney asked. "Nothing. He may continue telling people his version. He already does. You could demand a written retraction." "I don't need one." The agency settled separately. Adrian agreed to confidentiality restrictions, financial repayment, and a permanent no-contact provision regarding several former coworkers. My name appeared nowhere in the final agreement. That was exactly how I wanted it. Marissa moved to another city shortly afterward. I heard through a mutual acquaintance that she had admitted the marriage proposal had never been real. She only wanted proof that Adrian would abandon me if she asked. She received her proof. Then she discovered that winning someone who betrays another person for you does not create trust. It creates a warning. Adrian remained at his sister's apartment until she eventually asked him to leave. After that, the updates became scattered. A temporary job, a rented room, therapy he attended inconsistently, another social media account created and deleted within days. I stopped listening. The consequences no longer belonged to me. Nearly 1 year after the ultimatum, Marcus and I returned to the Blue Ridge Mountains. The cabin weekend I had originally planned for Adrian had remained as an unused reservation credit. I could have canceled it. Instead, I rebooked it. The cabin sat above a narrow river surrounded by pine trees. There was no cell service and no television. On the second evening, Marcus and I cooked dinner together. Chicken piccata, extra capers. When I told him why the recipe once mattered, he listened quietly. Then he tasted the sauce. "You know," he said, "this could use more lemon." I laughed so hard I nearly dropped the spoon. There was no tension beneath the joke, no test, no comparison. After dinner, we sat outside beneath a blanket while the river moved through the darkness below. Marcus did not propose. I did not want him to. Not then. There were no deadlines between us, no competing offers, no fear that affection would disappear if one of us failed to perform on schedule. Months later, when we did begin discussing marriage, the conversation happened over coffee on an ordinary Sunday morning. No ring, no ultimatum. Only two people deciding what they wanted together. One afternoon, while clearing an old desk drawer, I found the note I had photographed before leaving it on Adrian's boxes. "Seems there are no offers anymore." I held it for a moment. The sentence no longer felt sharp. It belonged to a version of me who needed finality written in ink. I tore it once, then again, and dropped the pieces into the trash. Adrian had believed love meant being desired by the highest bidder. Marissa believed power meant proving she could still summon him. I once believed commitment meant sacrificing enough that someone would eventually choose me without hesitation. All three of us had been wrong. There had never been an auction. Only a man creating one because competition made him feel valuable. The last thing I heard about Adrian came from Jamie. "He still tells people you changed the locks while he was trying to do the right thing." I stirred my coffee. "Does he mention the ultimatum?" "No." "Then he's telling the same story." Jamie studied me. "Does that bother you?" I looked across the cafe at Marcus waiting by the counter, holding two pastries because he could never decide which one I would prefer. "No." And I meant it. Adrian could keep the story where he was betrayed. Marissa could keep the story where she won. His family could keep calling me cruel. None of those versions had access to my home, my time, or my future. I had walked away from the negotiation. The silence afterward had not become loneliness. It became room. Room for friendships. Room for work. Room for a man who never asked me to prove love by competing with another woman. Room for an ordinary life that no longer felt like a waiting room. The deadline Adrian gave me ended long ago. Friday came. No proposal. No winner. No offers. Only a locked door behind me and a life opening quietly ahead.